What's up, everyone? Dwelling in the series of tubes with me, I'm Thepromise, and this is the Monday News Rundown for August 13th, 2012. And as it is Monday, August 13th, the Olympics closed yesterday, the 12th. It was a pretty is not a good enough adjective. It was a very good 2 weeks of sports. Every day there was something that I watched that was completely worth it. It was completely worth not only me watching it, but them competing and doing it. It was a 2 weeks of just 110%. World records getting just butt fucked left and right. It was really fucking intense. At the end of it, the U.S. came out on top. We had 104 medals, 46 gold, 29 silver, 29 bronze. So yeah, we're pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. China came in a semi-close second, with Britain pulling up the rear in third. In terms of gold medals, not total medals, I think Russia had Britain beaten totals, but Britain did have more gold medals than Russia, so kudos to them for being the host country and pulling in a bronze medal finish with golds. It's pretty awesome. And like I said, it was a really cool 2 weeks, and like some of the more notable U.S. events were honestly really the U.S. women's soccer. Their whole run was just phenomenal up until the last game, which was a complete nail-biter. I was literally on the edge of a seat for pretty much the entire game, especially after Japan scored that goal to put them within one. It was way too intense for me to handle. But kudos to Japan for handling it like champs and being super cool and super quirky on the podium. Good for you. Not everyone can handle it with as much grace as you guys did. Men's basketball, I think, was important, not because we won the gold medal, but because you're not as good as the Dream Team, so shut up. Okay? You beat Nigeria by like 80 points. Everything else was not quite as large of a margin as the Dream Team, so you can just shut up and enjoy your gold medal. We won gold and silver in the decathlon, which, as most people say, that does make you the best athlete in the world if you win the decathlon. It's 10 events over 2 days, and I probably couldn't do 3 of them over 4 days, so, you know, ups to us for being the 2 best athletes in the world. And literally we won a metric fuck ton of swimming sports. Any type of swimming sports that involves swimming, pool, water, we won lots of medals in those, so, you know, kudos to everyone who knows how to swim. And women's volleyball, you know, Misty May and Carrie Walsh closed out their career with the three-peat, so really happy to see them win it. Sad to see them not play together anymore because they put on some fucking shows, man. But, you know, good luck to them with whatever they're going to do after volleyball. You know, and keep it going, keep it going. So, moving into gaming news, new releases tomorrow. Better week than last week. That's not really saying much. Sleeping Dogs is being released by THQ for the PS3, 360, and PC. Sleeping Dogs is kind of, from what I gleaned from watching some streams, it's like a sandbox third-person shooter in Hong Kong. It's got a lot of very authentic Chinese everything in it, just visuals, sounds, music. It's very very elaborate, very well done. So far it's been received fairly favorably, and like I said, I've watched some streams of it, and it's a game that I would personally like to play. It looks really good, so that's definitely worth a shot. I know the PC version is getting some PC-only love tomorrow. I know they're going to have day one high-res texture patches for it and some exclusive content for the PC. So it's nice to see THQ taking care of their PC contemporaries by giving us some content day one, whereas normally the PC gamers get the shaft because they just get a shitty console port. So good job, you guys. Darksiders 2 is coming out, the sequel to Darksiders 1, Wrath of War. Yeah, your fairly standard, you know, third-person sandbox shoot-'em-up. If you ever played Prototype, you pretty much know what's in store in terms of Darksiders 2. It looks good. It looks good. If it plays like the first one, it's going to be a decent game. Not a good game, not a bad game. It will be decent to good. I shouldn't say it's not good. It's not great, but it's decent to good. So they're keeping it in line. It's definitely worth taking a shot. And for anyone who reserved Counter-Strike Global Offensive, tomorrow the live beta for pre-orders goes up. So For anyone who's had the beta, you know, you guys have obviously been playing for a while now, but for anyone who pre-ordered it and did not get sent an inventory beta, this is your chance to get in early. I know I will be playing it tomorrow once I get home. Fairly stoked. Seen movies. I mean, I've been playing Counter-Strike since like 1.6, so I have not played it really since Source came out. So I'm pretty stoked to get home and get back into Counter-Strike, and hopefully I'll have some friends to play with when that happens. So I mean, those are really the big 3 new releases. There's a couple of smaller games that really aren't worth mentioning coming out. Now I'm going to do my shout out before the main news. I'm not going to close the rundown with a shout out just because it's that good. I had a blast this weekend, and not because I watched the Olympics, and not because I went, I don't know what's exciting, skydiving, lion taming, whatever. I didn't do any of that. What I did do was play Just Cause 2 multiplayer beta, and it's a really awesome project by a bunch of independent modders who decided that Just Cause 2 needed a multiplayer mode, and it was not provided one, so they were going to provide one for it. And pretty much all they really did was just, I shouldn't say all they did because it's fairly massive. You know, they pretty much just wrote a custom script for it and injected it into a server, and you just go and play. And I believe over the weekend, most of the weekend, there were well over 1,000 people on the island. At some points, I believe it peaked at over 1,500. I know the server caps at 5,000, which that would be far too insane for me to even begin to handle. But it's really well done. It's really well done. I mean, it is a beta, so it's not completely polished, it's not completely clean. But I mean, just the mere fact that you can have 1,500 people on an indie modded server in a game that doesn't support multiplayer and it runs well is pretty groundbreaking in and of itself. And just the amount of time they took to really get into this. I mean, this is if I remember, it's the 5th or 6th open beta weekend, and they just introduced being able to shoot other players. Before, you could only shoot vehicles, but then you can actually shoot other players. And then even that wasn't completely ironed out. Most of the ballistic weapons didn't work correctly. It was the explosive weapons that really did most of the damage, so the rocket launchers and the grenade launchers and stuff. But I mean, there's over 7,000 vehicle spawns around the island that are hand-placed by the people developing the mod. So someone sat there by hand and placed 7,000 vehicles on this map. And it's land, sea, air vehicles. It's the whole shebang. And me and my buddy spent the better part of the weekend just getting into really ridiculous shenanigans and just doing some insane things like grapple hooking cars to helicopters and flying planes into blimps. And I mean, the game is huge. Huge. I mean, it makes Skyrim look like your block. Like that's how big the island of Just Cause is. In the fastest jet, I think it took me well over 10 minutes to fly from one end of the island to the other to get to Pie Island. So, and now the fastest jet. I mean, this thing's booking. So 10 minutes. The scope is insane. And the fact that the servers hold so many people, make the size not the detriment that it should be to the gameplay, because there's always people around you. I mean, yeah, you'll have a couple minutes of just some peace and quiet, doing your thing, coasting, but eventually you're going to come onto a village, and you're going to come to a military base or something, and there's going to be people there, and there's going to be shit going down. That's another cool thing, too, is that pretty much any marked location on the map is a spawn point. So when you die, you randomly spawn anywhere on the map, and there's something like 275 spawn locations in the game or something. So I mean, you die a lot, but it keeps it fresh, it keeps it interesting, and it's really fucking cool. The beta weekend ended this morning at 4 a.m. Eastern, but I can guarantee you they will be doing more. So if you own Just Cause 2 for the PC, you need to check. You owe it to yourself to check this mod out because it's really that fucking fun. You can find it at jc-mp.com. And then the website has forums. You can also follow them on Twitter, and I don't actually remember what the Twitter is, and I am terrible for not figuring this shit out sooner and writing it down for you poor people. So give me 1 second and I'll find it, and I'll tell you the awesome things that you should follow on Twitter as I buy time and ramble so I don't look completely retarded as I try to find this. Are you shitting me? I don't even follow that many people on Twitter, and I'm having a hard time finding it. What the fuck? All right, whatever. You go to jc-mp.com. It'll be there. Follow them. That's the best way to figure out if there's going to be a beta weekend. They'll announce it on Twitter beforehand. After they announce it, they'll have a countdown clock on the website. Usually there's a new client for each weekend, so you got to keep on the lookout for that so you can download the client, get everything updated, inject yourself into the server. So jcmp.com. Even if you don't have Just Cause 2, I think it's like $15 on Steam. You can probably find it for less on something like GOG or Amazon or something. At some point it might go on sale, but really pick it up. This mod will be awesome when it goes live. It is awesome in the beta weekend, so just bear it in mind, check it out when you can. All right, so getting to the news. Zynga, I mean, this is the third news post in a row that they have decided to make themselves newsworthy in the land of video games. But their COO has left. COO is the Chief Operations Officer, and they handle usually the business, more the business side aspect of a company in terms of management and structuralization and stuff. His name is John Shapard, and Shapard, he started at Tiburon, which is a subsidiary of EA Games. I mean, really EA Sports these days. But in the beginning, Tiburon made like the old Strike games. You remember them? Nuclear Strike, Soviet Strike, Jungle Strike. Really fun shooter, helicopter shooter games. Really cool. But as of recently, they really are just a subsidiary of EA Sports. They make pretty much the myriad of the EA Sports titles these days, and they have been for quite some time. And then after he was at Tiburon, he moved to Electronic Arts itself, and then decided to jump ship and head to Zynga to be the COO. And Zynga claims that the reason that he's leaving is not because he is a dirty scoundrel, but because he lost clout during a current reorganization. Some sources even alluding that he might have contributed to the stock drop with said reorganization. I mean, that's all well and fun, but the bottom line is, like, he is one of the execs who pulled in cash hand over fist during that purported insider trading debacle. So, you can tell me he's leaving because of this reorganization that may or may not have negatively impacted your company. But I mean, the bottom line is that really, he stole money by getting some insider goods and decided to jump ship, which, I'll be interested to see in the coming weeks and months how many other executives in Zynga will follow suit. I mean, really, it's just another douche move from what is panning out so far to be, a douche company with douche execs. So I mean, that's just a continuous. Like I said last time, they are being brought to court over insider trading allegations. So I'm sure this isn't going to help anything in the long run with him leaving. So I guess we'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens with that. Steam has decided to branch out, and instead of selling just games, they're going to be selling non-gaming software titles now. Now they say, and I quote, the titles will range from creativity to productivity. So I mean, we really could be looking at anything from Photoshop to word processing programs to I guess anything else in between, taxing applications, financial, pretty much anything you can pick up these days on the productivity tab of your mobile phone store. That'll probably be on there. And the cool thing about it, though, is that these titles will take advantage of Steamworks. So, they will have easy installation. They're going to have the automatic updates. And probably the best part about it, especially if you're using the software in a work capacity, like your typical Excel or, like I said, Word processors, presentation software like PowerPoint, is that you'll be able to save your work to the cloud so that all you need to do is log in on another computer in your Steam account, and then you have the files you need for whatever you're doing for work. So that, I think, is actually really fucking cool. I mean, it's a little moot because in a lot of the larger workplaces, clouds are already commonplace. So, I mean, it's not really anything groundbreaking or new. If you work at a place where you might have to shuffle around and do meetings and presentations, you probably already have a work-based cloud. But it is cool to give it to people who might not have the same opportunities, as some employees of bigger companies. I mean, it'll probably benefit students quite a bit, independent entrepreneurs, small business owners, stuff like that. So, I mean, even for school, I mean, when I'm going back to school in September, and I can already kind of see myself using the cloud capabilities for Steam for any projects I might have to do for school, whether it's Word documents or presentations or slideshows or any type of design, stuff like that. So, like, I can say that the cloud, go to school, log into my Steam account, pull it up in the cloud, and either utilize it or edit it. So, pretty cool. And I mean, it just makes Steam a more complete environment for an age of people who live on their computers. Not just gamers. Pretty much every facet of our society these days uses computers and the internet in some fashion, be it for work or play. So, I mean, this is just another step to making Steam an all-encompassing aspect of, using the computer and internet to facilitate our daily lives. They haven't announced any specific titles that are going to be used in this service update, but it launches on September 5th, so that's the 13th, the 5th. So that's like 3 weeks away. So within 3 weeks, we'll find out exactly what they're going to be offering, and hopefully what they'll be offering in the future. Moving on, I mean, and it's a weird type of market just because it's not like games where you always have games coming out. There's sequels to sequels, yearly sequels, stuff like that. I mean, it's not gaming software, and I mean, Word has an iteration, every year to every other year. The other products of the Office, Microsoft Office suite, sometimes have larger time frames than that, which I mean can be parallel to certain game franchises. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that there's less of them in general. I mean, I'm sure there's more, non-gaming PC programs than gaming programs if you had to weigh them and make like a little pie chart and shit. But I mean, in terms of what Valve could release on a regular basis, I think that games have a steadier flow than, let's say, the non-gaming software might. So I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out market-wise and in terms of like new releases and updates and stuff like that. But I mean, nonetheless, it's an interesting move by Valve to try to keep themselves on top of this market that's rapidly trying to catch itself up with them. So I mean, it'll just add another dimension. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of weeks we see Origin, making the move to start doing stuff like that at usually higher prices and less variety, because that's usually Origin's gig. But like I said, September 5th, we'll see what's up, and we'll see how it moves forward. In moving forward, a Florida man has listed his entire business empire on eBay for $3.5 million. And this is related to games because his empire is a chain of gaming stores in Florida. It's 29-year-old Shane Butcher, and he's selling his franchise called RU Game, which is 3 stores in the I believe. See, my Florida geography is not as good as New York and New Jersey geography, but I believe they're Southern Florida. It's a Southern Florida franchise. He's selling the whole shebang on eBay for $3.5 million. And the listing itself, it includes the 3 stores. I think the Tampa. You know, I just know Tampa by heart. The other ones could be anywhere else. And it includes the 3 stores. It includes a waterfront townhouse, a condo, 3 cars, including a low mileage Lotus Elise, which I'm not a car guy, but I want to have a Lotus Elise at some point before I die because it's gorgeous and I love them with all my heart. And 3 kayaks. So you get 3 stores, 2 houses, 3 cars, one of which is over $100,000, and 3 kayaks for $3.5 million. He's also giving away his collection of rare gaming paraphernalia, which he claims is in the hundreds. A specific few are a sealed Neo Geo system, a Star Fox Super Weekend cartridge, which I have to assume is one of those gimmicky Nintendo limited time tournament type deals where there's only, you know, X amount made for that tournament and then they're never seen from again. And a Panzer Dragoon themed Sega Saturn, which actually seems kind of cool. I vaguely remember seeing that Sega Saturn like way long ago when I was younger, but that seems pretty neat. And he claims that the chain is healthy and profitable. Claims he's not selling it because it's you know, in the process of tanking. And he'll even stick around for 6 months as an advisor to the person who buys it to make sure that it's run right after he's left. He wants to use the proceeds from the sale to buy an RV and to travel the Southwest with his family. Pretty much to do all the things that he couldn't do when he was building this you know, apparently multi-million-dollar gaming empire. And I mean, that's a respectable goal. You know, you're 29, you've built up this great thing. I'm sure you worked very hard nonstop to get to where it's at. You have a family, so you know, sell the whole shebang, hop in an RV, and just start driving. They want to go to the American Southwest to see family. I guess he's got family down there or whatnot, and just do, like I said, generally other things that he couldn't do or that he didn't have the time to do while he was growing the business. Now, some of the key points about this: the price is good. In fact, it might be too good. You know, I'm not an expert on the Florida economy, but I mean, it seems like a relatively small bit of chump change for what's included in the listing. I saw a picture of the waterfront townhouse. I mean, it's gorgeous. The location's gorgeous. The neighborhood's gorgeous. I mean, I can't see the townhouse itself going for less than $1 million. The condo's really nice. That's probably $500,000 to more. The 3 cars, like I said, the Elise is $100,000 by itself. The other 2 may or may not be awesome. 3 kayaks, that's like $16.46. And then 3 stores, 3 thriving stores, as he claims. Store property itself is not cheap. So, I mean, $3.5 million for all of that, plus his hundreds of rare and hard-to-find gaming paraphernalia. I mean, I don't know. It seems like, you know, he's not asking enough, and that's usually a red flag that there's something more going on that you're not being made aware of. There's something going on behind the scenes, and who knows what it is. And I mean, that's the really shitty part, is that whoever buys it, I'm sure will find out one way or the other. You know, and it's definitely something that we could be hearing more of in the future, and we just kind of have to wait and see if it's, you know, positive or a negative connotation when we hear about it, because it really could go either way. And I hope, for the sake of whoever does buy it, if it does get sold, that it is positive. I hope that they take over this and they're successful and happy with what they do. One of my favorite game developers is Irrational Games. And it's head by a man named Ken Levine, who is one of my all-time favorite game developers. He's made some really innovative, groundbreaking games that people still are very passionate about to this day. You know, and the latest of which, was BioShock 1, which will forever be one of my all-time favorite games. Definitely in the top 10. Definitely in the top 10. I don't know if it'd be in the top 3. Mine. Well, I don't know. I mean, Xenogears is my all-time favorite game. Xenogears is beautiful and a masterpiece. Followed by Morrowind, which I know not a lot of people liked Morrowind, but I dumped an entire summer into that game. And I mean, not like, oh, I played it like during the summer, like the entire summer. Like I didn't sleep with enough time that a human being should still be able to live the amount of time that I played this game. And it's, to this day, one of the most expansive and awesome games that I've ever played. And I've just started trying to get it to run on my computer now with the graphics overhaul, and it's giving me some troubles. I'm trying to work through it. But I'm telling you, man, when I was sitting in Seti Anin and that fucking music came on, the plucky harp song, I got all verklempt. I got all nostalgic, and it was just a beautiful thing. So Xenogears, Morrowind. Okay, I guess BioShock could be number 3. Could be 3 to 10. It's 3 to 5. 3 to 5. It's somewhere in there. So definitely up there. So I mean, you'll get the fact that I hold BioShock and Ken Levine and Irrational in very high regards, and I love them very much. I didn't like BioShock 2 quite as much as BioShock 1, just because part of the beauty of BioShock 1 was just the reveal of the game and what was in the game. That first time you see Rapture, that first time you see a Big Daddy, the first time you see what a little sister does to get Adam, the first time you use your plasmids, that fucking scene with Andrew Ryan at the golf club. I mean, the whole game is about this continuous series of reveals that just makes it more and more awesome as time goes on. And I felt that BioShock 2, it didn't really expand on that. It just took what was revealed in BioShock 1, dialed it back to sort of a prequel state, and kept rolling with it. And I mean, BioShock 2 wasn't a bad game. I just didn't like it as much as BioShock 1. And also, like Ken and most of the BioShock 1 staff on Irrational didn't work on 2. They were already working on Infinite. So I don't want to say had, because I still had very high hopes for BioShock Infinite. So I was really bummed out when I heard this past week that they had lost more key members to their development staff. Last week they lost Tim Garretson, who was the director of product development, and Nate Wells, who was a 13-year art director for Irrational Games. So he's been making artwork for these guys for 13 years. And they both left the studio to pursue other options quite suddenly. And Tim Garretson, he worked at Human Head Studios, which is the studios that made Prey, which, not a bad game. For all the wait that people had to endure to play it, I have to say it was surprisingly good. Kind of petered out at the end, but good game. So he started out at Human Head, came to Irrational, and he really became an important part of the BioShock Infinite team. He was very forward-thinking and very active in getting BioShock Infinite out there and promoted, and making sure everyone could see how awesome it was. And like I said, Nate Wells he's a 13-year veteran of Irrational as an art director. And he really had a very large impact on how the very distinctive visuals for BioShock 1 were created, both in terms of character and environmental art. He played a very large hand, and for anyone who's played, BioShock, that whole, bold 1940s Art Nouveau style, very distinctive, very identifiable and just very striking, and it really helped immerse you in this city that is Rapture. So I mean, it was a really big bummer to see both of them go, considering the impact that they had on, pretty much two of their Irrational's biggest games. And in addition to the departures, they also announced that two of the multiplayer modes were being cut from the game as well. Now, I know multiplayer was a part of Bioshock 2. It's never something that I personally played in Bioshock 2, so I can't comment on whether the multiplayer was good or bad. I don't know. So that might be a good or a bad thing that those two modes were cut. I'm honestly not sure. To balance the losses, they took on a Mr. Rob Ferguson of Epic Games, who is one of the developers of the Gears of War franchise. Now, I'm not as excited to hear this as I'm sure some other people might have been. I don't personally like the Gears of War franchise, and it's nothing really personal. I've played them. I don't enjoy them as much as I enjoy other games. I think that they have a really good story. I think the story of Sarah and the Locust invasion is actually really good, and when I did play the games, I did really enjoy the story that was presented to me. And I mean, visually, they're very striking games. The art style is beautiful, and just the detail of the world as it's falling apart around you is gorgeous. I don't like the games. So when you tell me that Rob Ferguson is coming to help fill some of this vacuum that's been left, I don't know what to think. I'm sure he's a good developer. I'm sure he has lots of great ideas, and I'm sure he's very strong in what he does. I don't think necessarily that he could be a good fit for Bioshock Infinite, considering that Bioshock and Gears of War are, really about as opposite as you can get. Apples and oranges don't even begin to cover it. And I don't want elements of Gears of War bleeding through into Bioshock, because I can't see that leading to anything worthwhile or fruitful in terms of game development. I think, if anything, it will detract from the overall experience of Bioshock Infinite as a game. And I think if that bleed through does happen, you're going to shoo away a lot of people who potentially have been playing Bioshock for quite a long time, ostensibly since perhaps System Shock. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what Ferguson brings to the table. But I pray that he doesn't allow a bleed through of a Gears of War mentality or developmental style into Bioshock. The one possible, thing that I could think of that he could be doing that I would embrace would be to work on the multiplayer, because, for anyone who's played Gears of War, the multiplayer is a very large part of the game, and the people who do play it love it. Myself, not so much. I felt it was a little... I don't like multiplayer games where you feel like you're inaccurate. I like it where if I aim at something, I tend to hit it more often than not. And with Gears, there's a lot of bullets spread, and the crosshairs are very small. But, Gears has a very polished multiplayer system regardless. So if he's working on the multiplayer, kudos, go for it. If he's working on the single player, I might not be so happy. But these departures, they've come after, in the past couple months, Steve Gaynor, who created the Minerva's Den DLC for Bioshock 2, from which, if I remember correctly, was very well received by fans of the first Bioshock. And the associate producer, Chris Remo, they both left the studio as well. So that's four... That's three fingers. Four large departures from a studio of 200 people who make really good games. And I don't know. To me, these departures, when you couple them with the numerous setbacks on the release date, the game was originally supposed to release in November of 2011, August of 2012. It makes me slightly worried for what I'm going to experience when the game is eventually released. Because, the long and short of it is, I would really rather not see another Bioshock 2 with, you know, like I said before, in terms of the repetition of themes and gameplay mechanics and setting, which obviously, I mean, I've seen Bioshock Infinite. Obviously, the setting isn't a problem. It's in the fucking sky. But I mean, you know, I'd rather not see that overall theme of just been there, done that, and instead, I would really like to see something as fresh and groundbreaking as Bioshock 1. You know, who really took a lot of elements of previous games. It didn't really develop anything brand spanking new. But I mean, it took elements from other games and made them better. Perfect example is it made the scripted scenes from Half-Life 1 and 2, and, you know, gave them a little bit more flash, a little bit more effect, and it was really something that people on consoles hadn't experienced yet. So I mean, I want to see more stuff like that. I want to see just, you know, innovation, groundbreaking techniques, and just something that's really going to make me lose myself in the game, like Bioshock did. I mean, I pretty much, I mean, I guess I can say it now. I mean, I got the game a week early. I was working at GameStop at the time, and I had my pre-order copy set aside. I just took the disc home with it, unplugged my Xbox from Live, and started playing with it because I just couldn't fucking wait. And you know, I played it for more than a week straight, just straight through. Did not put it down. The only time that I stopped playing was when I went to work, and I played it for a week straight, and I was completely immersed in this world, and I was having a blast, an absolute blast, and that's what I hope to experience when Infinite releases. And Bioshock Infinite does release so far in February of 2013. So keep my fingers crossed that Mr. Levine and the boys can pull it out, and I'll be super happy with what they have to give me. But that's it. That wraps up the Monday News Rundown for August 13th, 2012. As always, I'm The Promise. You guys are wonderful. I love you, and I'll see you next week.